Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe 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 Govind Govind Radhe 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 Govind Govind Radhe 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 Govind Govind Radhe
Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamatam Dadati Svapadantikam Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatari Chakalpatarubhyascha Kripa-sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Bhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Welcome back to our discussion of the Vrindavan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Dobrodošli nazad opet na našu diskusiju o Vrindavanu Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yesterday, after some introductory remarks, we talked about briefly about Lord Chaitanya's first attempt to go to Vrindavan.
Jučer smo posle nekih uvodnih zabilješki razgovarali o prvom pokušaju Sri Chaitanya da ode u Vrindavan.
Which happened immediately after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyas vows.
To se desilo odmah nakon što je Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prihvatio zavete sannyasa,
which seems to have taken place in the year 1510 according to our Western calendar.
Što se sudeći po našem zapadnom kalendaru desilo u godini 1510.
Well, before we go on, can anyone tell me what time we're supposed to stop today?
Pre nego što krenemo, neka mi kaže kad treba da se zaustavimo.
So
1 hour.
1 o'clock. Okay, and then there's another seminar immediately following. Bhajan?
Bhajan Sri Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so now we're oriented. We noted that Lord Chaitanya did not get very far to Vrindavan.
Primetili smo da Gospod Chaitanya nije predaleko otišao prema Vrindavanu.
Rather, he was, practically speaking, ordered by his mother, Sachi Mata, to go to Jagannath Puri.
Umjesto toga, njegova majka Sačimata mu je praktično naredila da ode u Jagannath Puri.
It turns out that Jagannath Puri is Gupta Vrindavan.
Ispada da je Jagannath Puri Gupta Vrindavan.
Lupta,
sorry.
hidden Vrindavan. So in this way we can say Lord Chaitanya was ordered by his mother to go to Vrindavan.
I na taj način mogli bi reći da je Gospod Chaitanya dobio naređenje od majke da ode u Vrindavan.
So he proceeded to Puri.
I onda je on krenuo za Puri.
On his way there were various adventures.
Putem je doživio razne avanture,
including his visit to Remuna, to the temple of Chirachora Gopinath.
Uključujući njegovu posjetu Remuni u hram Kshirachora Gopinath,
where he heard the story of how Madhavendra Puri visited this temple.
gdje je čuo priču o tome kako je Madhavendra Puri bio posjetio taj hram.
Yesterday we mentioned Madhavendra Puri. He is the seed of the tree, of the Chaitanya tree.
Jučer smo spomenuli kako je Madhavendra Puri u stvari kao to seme drveta Chaitanje.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, hearing now about this time that Madhavendra Puri came to Remuna, is sort of making a further connection to Vrindavan.
I onda to što je Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tamo slušao o posjeti Madhavendra Purija Remuni, kao njegova prva veza sa Vrindavanom.
Because Madhavendra Puri was living in Vrindavan, or greater Braja,
Jer Madhavendra Puri je živio u Vrindavanu ili širem regionu Braja.
it was there, actually at Govardhan, that he discovered the deity of Gopal.
U stvari tamo je kod Govardhana se desilo da je on otkrio to božanstvo Gopala.
And he established the worship of the deity.
I uspostavio obožavanje božanstva.
And after some time, he was ordered by Gopal to fetch sandalwood for him.
I posle nekog vremena Gopal mu je naredio da nabavi sandalovinu za njega.
And this meant taking a major trip.
A to je značilo dug put.
There's no sandalwood available in the Vrindavan area.
U području Vrindavana nema sandalovog drveta.
So he was headed for South India via Puri.
I onda on krenuo za Južnu Indiju preko Purije.
On the way, he stopped in this temple of Chirachora Gopinath,
Putem je svratio do tog hrama Kshirachora Gopinatha,
which at that time was not yet known as Chirachora Gopinath. It was simply Gopinath.
koji u to vreme još nije bio poznat kao Kshirachora Gopinath, nego samo kao Gopinath.
Because it was for Madhavendra Puri that Gopinath stole the Chirachora.
Jer upravo zbog Madhavendre Purije taj Gopinath ukrao Kshiru, zato se zove Kshirachora.
And it was here that he was after obtaining the sandalwood, he was told by Gopinath, you can just offer that sandalwood to me, and in this way it is, or rather it was Gopal in his dream who told him, you can offer to Gopinath, and in this way I will receive the sandalwood. So you don't have to carry sandalwood all the way back to Vrindavan.
U stvari, Gopal mu je u snu rekao, možeš samo, pošto je on već bio nabavio sandalovinu, možeš samo ovdje ponuditi sandalovinu Gopinatu, tako da ne moraš vucakati čitavu tu sandalovinu do Vrindavana.
So this connection with Vrindavan is going to Puri, but he's thinking about Madhavendra Puri. He's thinking about Govardhan, about Vrindavan.
I onda je nastala ta veza, Mahaprabhu ide za Puri, misli na Madhavendra Purija, misli na Vrindavan.
Eventually, of course, Mahaprabhu arrives in Jagannath Puri, and almost immediately when he arrives, he meets Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Na kraju Mahaprabhu stiže u Puri i skoro odmah nakon dolaska susreće Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thinks, oh, this young sannyasi, he needs help.
I Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya misli, a ovaj mlad sannyasi, njemu treba pomoć.
And so he decides to take him on as one of his students.
I onda odlučuje da ga uzme kao jedan od svojih učenika.
According to Krishnadas Kaviraj and also Kavi Karnapura, to Sarvabhauma's great surprise, he finds himself becoming a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I prema Krishnadas Kaviraju i isto prema Kavi Karnapura, umjesto toga Sarvabhauma je postao učenik Mahaprabhu, sledbenik.
And he gives one tip to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, I know one person who will give you great inspiration.
I onda je dao jedan mali savjet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rekao je, znam jednu osobu koja će ti dati veliku inspiraciju.
You should go and meet him.
Treba da ideš i sretneš ga.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was told by his mother to stay in Puri. Well, he didn't do that.
Majka mu je rekla Chaitanya Mahaprabhu da ostane u Puri, a on to nije baš uradio.
Very soon, a few months after he arrived in Puri, he left for South India.
Nekoliko mjeseci, jako brzo nakon što je stigao u Puri, otišao je za Južnu Indiju.
On the plea of searching for his brother.
Pod izgovorom da traži svog brata.
His older brother, Vishwarupa, had left some time before, taken sannyas himself, and had left, and nobody had heard from him again.
Njegov stariji brat Vishwarupa je godinama pre toga otišao, uzeo sannyas i niko nikad ništa nije čuo za njega.
So he heads for South India, and Sarvabhauma says, well, since you're going, you should make a stop in this place called, what is it called? Rajmundri, yes, Rajmundri. This is where this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets with Ramananda Roy.
I Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya mu rekao, kad već ideš, onda možeš da se zaustaviš tamo kod mesta, what was the name of the place?
Rajmundri.
Mundri, gdje se Chaitanya Mahaprabhu susreo sa Ramananda Royem.
Raja Mahendri originally. So,
Raja Mahendri.
So, as you know, they have a conversation, a very famous discussion that goes on for several days.
Kao što znate, imali su dugi razgovor, čuveni razgovor koji je trajao nekoliko dana.
And in this conversation, Mahaprabhu urges Ramananda Raya to elaborate about the greatest levels of devotional service, of bhakti.
I tu Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moli Ramananda Raya da detaljno izloži sve te najviše nivoje predanog služenja bhakti.
What we get in that conversation is what amounts to a kind of, here's a technical word, a doxography.
A what?
A doxography.
Doxography.
Yeah.
Ono što tu dobijamo je nešto što bi se moglo nazvati doksografijom. Ne znam bolju reći.
We will explain.
Objasnit ćemo.
Doxography is a charting out of doxy of doctrine.
Doksografija je sistematski opis doktrine, doksa.
Yeah. So the whole conversation, it starts, you could say, on the broad end or the low end of Krishna Bhakti, and it works its way up to the narrow and high end of Krishna Bhakti.
Čitav razgovor počinje na širem kraju, donjem kraju Krishna Bhakti i završava se prema gornjem i mnogo tesnijem kraju Krishna Bhakti.
It starts out that we should observe Varnashrama, and this way we will please Lord Vishnu.
Počinje sa tim da trebamo slediti Varnashramu i to je način da zadovoljimo Gospoda Višnu.
And Mahaprabhu says that's all right, but it's external. Keep going.
Mahaprabhu kaže to je u redu, ali to je spoljašnja stvar, nastavi.
And he's going to say that several times. That's all right, but keep going. As Ramananda suggests, gradually more and more levels of bhakti.
I kako Ramananda Roy nastavlja sa sve višim slojevima bhakti, Mahaprabhu će još nekoliko puta to reći, to je u redu, ali nastavi.
At one point, Ramananda Roy says, I know, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Quoting Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66.
U jednom trenutku Ramananda kaže, znam, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja, citira Bhagavad Gitu 18.66.
And Lord Chaitanya just says, hey ho Bhakti, that's external.
I Gospod Chaitanya opet kaže, ho Bhakti, to je spoljašnja stvar.
Okay, so he keeps pushing him to go further, and higher, ultimately to describe Raja Bhakti.
I on me tako gura da ide još više, da bi na kraju opisao Raja Bhakti.
So, as we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, we're following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he is traveling, and we're also following him as he is gradually going toward Vrindavan in different ways.
Kako čitamo Chaitanya Charitamritu, pratimo ga kako putuje i pratimo ga kako napreduje prema Vrindavanu na razne načine. This
conversation takes place in Madhya Lila chapter 8.
Ovaj razgovor se odvija u Madhya Lili 8. poglavlju.
In chapter 13, there's a wonderful description of Ratha Yatra in Puri.
U 13. poglavlju ima divan opis Ratha Yatre u Puriju.
Which would have happened after Mahaprabhu returns to Puri, after he's gone to South India and he's gone to several places for over 1 year.
Koja se dešava od kako je Mahaprabhu posetio Južnu Indiju, onda se vraća u Puri nakon recimo godinu dana.
According to one estimate, he arrived back in June of 1511, back in Jagannath Puri.
Prema jednoj proceni, on se vraća u Jagannath Puri juna 1511.
And the Ratha Yatra takes place each year, sometime in July usually.
Ratha Yatra se uglavnom svake godine dešava obično u julu.
So in the Ratha Yatra, we read about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Srimati Radharani.
Onda za vreme Ratha Yatre čitamo kako je Chaitanya Mahaprabhu u raspoloženju Srimati Radharani.
And Krishnadas quotes Lord Chaitanya quoting, now this gets a little strange, but quoting Rupa Goswami.
I onda Krishnadas Kaviraj citira Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, malo komplikovano, kako on citira Rupa Goswami.
Let's see, we have a very nice verse here. Priyaso yam Krishna sahachari kurukshetra militas tataham sarana taridamubayo sangamasukam tatapyanta kelan madhura murali panchamajushe mano me kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihayati. This is Srimati Radharani speaking.
Ovo govori Srimati Radharani.
My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna.
Draga moja prijateljice, sada sam susrela mog starog dobrog prijatelja Krishnu.
On this field of Kurukshetra.
Na ovom polju Kurukshetra.
I am the same Radharani.
Ja sam ista Radharani.
And now we are meeting together.
I sad se opet susrećemo.
It is very pleasant.
Veoma prijatno.
But
Ali
still I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there.
Ipak bi želala ići na breg Jamune ispod tamošnjeg drveća.
I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan.
Želeo bi čuti kako on slatko svira svoju flautu na kojoj svira petu notu u šumi Vrindavan.
Anta kelan madhura murali panchamajushe. The panchama, the fifth note, that's the high note.
Peta nota, to je visoka nota.
Okay, so here we have multi-layers of remembering.
Tu imamo više slojeva sećanja.
That Lord Chaitanya is remembering, well, he's also remembering on different levels, you could say. He's remembering himself as being Radharani.
Mogli bi reći da tu se Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seća i sebe u više nivoa i seća se sebe kao Radharani.
And in that mood, he's remembering Radharani, remembering her experience with Krishna in Vrindavan.
I u tom raspoloženju seća se kako se Radharani seća, kako je on Radharani, seća se kako se ona seća Krishna u Vrindavan.
And this is happening outside of Vrindavan in Bhakti Vaibhav Maharaj Ki Jai. So nice to see. This is happening, of course, in Kurukshetra.
Ono se dešava na Kurukšetri.
Radha and Krishna are meeting, but Radharani is saying it's not the same.
Radha i Krishna se susretnu, ali Radharani kaže nije isto.
Lord Chaitanya is in Puri at the Ratha Yatra, and he is remembering Radha and Krishna meeting in Kurukshetra, remembering Vrindavan. So we have, what is it, at least 2, if not 3 layers of remembering.
Ovdje imamo 2, ako ne 3 sloja sećanja. Gospod Chaitanya je na Ratha Yatri u Puriju i seća se kako se Radha na Kurukšetri sa Krishnom seća Vrindavanu.
And then we have another verse. This is actually in chapter 1 of Madhya Lila, because in chapter 1, Krishnadas is giving an overview of Madhya Lila.
Ovdje imamo još jedan stih iz prvog poglavlja Madhya Lile, jer Krishnadas, kao je reč, u prvom poglavlju daje sažetak Madhya Lile.
He's giving what's called an upakramanika.
Daje nešto što se naziva upakramanika.
Which is actually it's a nice thing you can do yourself, is to read this chapter as a way of remembering so many chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is a kind of technique in some of the Vedic literature.
Koji bi isto vi mogli lepo iskoristiti tu. Ovo je, ako pročitate to prvo poglavlje, to je način da se sećate puno poglavlja unazad Chaitanya Charitamrita. To je tehnika koja se koristi dosta u vedskim spisima.
It's also there in the beginning of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is huge. So in the beginning, Adi Parvan, there's an overview.
To se isto koristi Mahabharata. Mahabharata je ogromna i na samom početku Mahabharata imate kao pregled čitave Mahabharata.
So this is verse 84 of that chapter, if you want to follow up on this.
Ovo je stih 84 ovog poglavlja, ako želite da sledite.
Ya te lila rasa parimalo garivan ya paritan Danya chauni vilasati vrita maturi maturivi Tatrasma vish chatula pashupi bhava muktantaravi Samvitastam kalayavanam vadanolasi vinurviharam. This is a slightly strange meter.
Ovo je interesantna metrika.
Dear Krishna, this is the gopi speaking.
Ovo govore gopije.
The fragrance of the mellows of your pastimes is spread throughout the forest.
Miris draži tvojih zabava se širi šumom.
Of the glorious land of Vrindavan,
Slavne zemlje Vrindavana,
which is surrounded by the sweetness of the district of Mathura.
koja je okružena slatkoćom regiona Mature.
In the congenial atmosphere of that wonderful land,
U prijatnoj atmosferi te divne zemlje,
you may enjoy your pastimes,
ti možeš uživati svojim zabavama.
with your flute dancing on your lips,
Sa tvojom flautom koja pleše na tvojim usnama.
and surrounded by us, the gopis,
I okružen si nama, gopijama,
whose hearts are always enchanted by unpredictable ecstatic emotions.
čije srca su uvek očarana nepredvidljivim zanosnim emocijama.
So I sometimes say one way of thinking of Krishna's pastimes is to make mental snapshots.
Ja uvek kažem, jedan način da se sećamo Krišninih zabava je da napravimo mentalne fotografije.
Mental snaps, as they say in India. Snap. In India, take a snap.
Uzmete, kliknete na fotografiju.
So this is a picture we're getting. In one verse, the gopis are describing themselves with Krishna. They're describing Krishna, they're describing what the gopis are experiencing.
I tu imamo jedan stih koji gopije opisuju Krišnu, opisuju sebe, opisuju šta osjećaju.
They're describing the setting.
Opisuju okruženje.
So the whole picture is there, all in a very compact form.
Čitava slika je tu u veoma nabijenom obliku.
Again, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's remembering, he is in the Ratha Yatra, I think this is Ratha Yatra. In any case, he's remembering, he's not in Vrindavan himself, he wants to go to Vrindavan.
Opet, znači, ovo je Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on je na Ratha Yatri, on se seća Vrindavana, nije u Vrindavanu.
Okay, then we get to Madhya Lila chapter 16.
Ajde sad idemo na Madhya Lilu, 16. poglavlje.
And I want to begin from verse number 87.
Želim da počnem sa stihom 87.
This chapter is called The Lord's Attempt to Go to Vrindavan.
Poglavlje se zove Gospodov pokušaj da ode u Vrindavanu.
So we know that it's an attempt and it's not going to be a successful attempt.
Znači to je, znamo, pokušaj koji neće biti tako uspešan pokušaj.
Tobe Prabhu Sarvabhauma Ramananda Sthane Alingana Kari Kahe Madhura Vachane. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed a proposal before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai. He embraced them and spoke sweet words.
Tada je Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu izneo predlog pred Sarvabhaumom Bhattacharju i Ramananda Raju. Zagrlio ih je i obratio im se umilnim rečima.
Bahutta utkanta morajate Vrindavana tomar hotte tui vachar na koilum gamana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my desire to go to Vrindavan has very much increased. Because of your tricks, I have not been able to go there for the past 2 years.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu je rekao, moja želja da odem u Vrindavanu je jako narasla. Zbog vaših trikova već 2 godine nisam mogao da odem tamo.
So this is an accusation.
Ovo je optuženje.
That he's been intending to go, but he's been getting stopped.
Da on pokušava da ode tamo, ali ga zaustavljaju.
Why is he being stopped?
Zašto ga zaustavljaju?
Because the devotees are afraid that if he goes to Vrindavan, they'll never see him again.
Jer Bhakta se boje da ako ode u Vrindavan, nikad ga više neće vidjeti.
This was the problem with his brother, Vishvarupa.
To je bio i problem sa njegovim bratom, Vishvarupom.
And this was, of course, the great anxiety of Sachimata, that she already lost one son. Now she's going to lose her other son.
I to je bio isto problem Sachimate. Već je izgubila jednog sina, sad će i drugog da izgubila.
So it seems there was something of some manipulations going on within Puri to keep Mahaprabhu in Puri.
I čini se da je bilo nekih manipulacija u Puriju da on ostane tamo.
But now Lord Chaitanya says, I don't care what you all say, I'm going anyway.
Sad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kaže, baš me briga što svi vi kažete, ja idem.
No, he doesn't say that.
Ok, ne kaže to.
He says, this time I must go. Will you please give me permission?
Kaže, ovog puta moram da idem. Da li ćete, molim vas, dopustite mi da odem?
Save for you too, I have no other resort.
Osim vas dvojice, nemam drugog utočišta.
Which two?
Koje dvojice?
Who's he speaking of? Sarvabhauma and Ramananda Roy. Remember, it was Sarvabhauma who sent Lord Chaitanya to meet Ramananda Roy.
Sjetite se, Sarvabhauma je bio taj koji je poslao Chaitanya Mahaprabhu da se sretne sa Ramanandom.
And then he goes on to say, in Bengal, I have 2 shelters, my mother and the river Ganga. Both of them are very merciful.
I onda kaže, u Bengalu imam 2 utočišta, moju majku i reku Gangu, obe su veoma milostive.
I shall go to Vrindavan through Bengal and see both my mother and the river Ganga. Now, would you too be pleased to give me permission?
Na putu za Vrindavanu ću proći kroz Bengal i vidjeti moju majku i reku Gangu. Molim vas da mi to dopustite.
Well, when the Lord is speaking like this, you know, he's not just asking for permission, he's pretty much demanding permission.
Kada Gospod ovako priča, onda znate da on ne moli samo za dozvolu, on traži, zahteva dozvolu.
And that is confirmed in the next verse. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy heard these words, they began to consider that it was not at all good that they had played so many tricks on the Lord.
I to se vidi u sljedećem stihu. Kad su čuli te reči, Sarabhama Bhattacharya i Ramananda Roy su pomislili da nije bilo dobro što su toliko trikova na stole da odvrate Gospodu.
But what do they say next?
Ali šta kažu sljedeće?
Now that the rainy season is here, it will be difficult for you to travel. It is better to wait for Vijaya Dashami before departing for Vrindavan.
Pošto je sada počelo kišno razdoblje, bit će teško putovati. Bolje da pričekaš do Vijaya Dashamija i tada odeš u Vrindavan.
So again, they're finding excuses.
Dakle, opet nalaze izgovore.
But it turns out Mahaprabhu agrees, actually you're right.
Ali ispada da Mahaprabhu se u stvari složio, u pravo ste.
He waited until after the rainy season, and then Vijaya Dashami, I'm not sure exactly when that comes. Anyone knows?
Se čekao da završi kišna sezona i onda Vijaya Dashami, da li neko zna kada je to?
Late November or December, I guess.
Mislim da je kasni novembar, decembar rani.
Okay, then it says he collected remnants of food left by Lord Jagannath. He also took remnants of the Lord's karar, ointment, sandalwood, and ropes with him. Interesting.
Piše da je Gospod Chaitanya uzeo ostatke hrane Gospoda Jagannatha i onda je uzeo what is the word?
Karar.
That is fruit or?
This will be explained.
I onda je uzeo isto i neke užadi sa sobom.
This is, in the word for word, Prabhupada says it's a kind of tilak.
U objašnjenju reč za reč, što Prabhupada kaže da je to jedna vrsta tilaka.
Okay, here's a quiz. What did Lord Chaitanya take with him when he left Jagannath Puri?
Eto, ovaj kviz, šta je Gospod Chaitanya uzeo sa sobom kada je napustio Jagannath Puri?
Took Kadar, what else? Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath. What else?
Ropes.
He took rope. He took some rope from, I presume, from the Ratha Yatra, that kind of rope. Just says ropes, doesn't say which ropes.
Ta užadi, mislim da je bila sa Ratha Yatra, ne kaže kakve užadi.
Okay, finally he takes permission from Lord Jagannath, and then early in the morning he departs. And all the devotees of Orissa try to follow him.
I konačno on uzima dozvolu od Gospoda Jagannatha i rano ujutru kreće na put i svi bhakti iz Orisse žele da ga slede.
Now, we don't know very much about the Orissan followers of Lord Chaitanya.
Sad mi ne znamo puno o sledbenicima Gospoda Chaitanya iz Orisse.
Remember that Krishnadas Kaviraj was from Bengal.
Sjetite se da je Krishnadas Kaviraj bio u Bengalu.
He spent most of his life in Vrindavan.
Većinu svog života proveo u Vrindavanu.
Because he had a dream in which Lord Nityananda came to him and ordered him to go to Vrindavan.
Jer je imao san u kojem se pojavio mu se Gospod Nityananda i rekao mu da ode u Vrindavan.
He said, go to Vrindavan because there all your desires will be fulfilled.
Rekao mu je, idi u Vrindavan jer tamo će ti se ispuniti sve želje.
In any case, there's a whole another side of the life of Lord Chaitanya, where he had so many followers who were Orissan. They were not Bengali, they were Orissan. And here, according to Krishnadas, Lord Chaitanya sent them back when they wanted to follow him to Bengal. He said, no, you stay here.
I to je jedna čitava druga strana života Gospoda Chaitanya. On imao puno svojih bhakta iz Orisse i ovdje kada svi žele da ga prate do Vrindavana, Krishnadas Kaviraj kaže da ih je poslao natrag. Ne, vratite se, ostanite tu.
So maybe there was a bit of Bengali nationalism going on here.
Možda tu ima neka vrsta bengalskog nacionalizma.
Accompanied by his personal associates, he first went to a place called Bhavanipur.
Pridružavan svojim ličnim pratioцima, prvo je otišao na mesto koje se zove Bhavanipur. Bhavanipur.
And then it says that Ramananda Rai arrived there on a palanquin, and Vaninath Rai had a large quantity of prasadam sent to the Lord.
I onda kaže, kada je Gospod Chaitanya stigao u Bhavanipur, Ramananda Rai je stigao na svojoj nosiljci, a Vaninath Rai je poslao Gospodu veliku količinu prasadama.
From there he went to Bhubaneswara. This is still in Orissa.
Odatle je otišao u Bhubaneswar, to je još uvijek u Orisi.
Which, by the way, the state of Orissa is now officially called Odisha. Odisha.
Inače sad se država Orissa zvanično zove Odisha.
Odisha. O-D-I-S-H-A. That's the official name. It used to be Orissa, now it's Odisha.
Bila je pre Orissa, sad je Odisha.
The Odishan parliament made this decision recently.
Parlament iz Odishe je doneo tu odluku.
They've been doing this in India. Bombay became Mumbai, Calcutta became Kolkata, and Bangalore became Bengaluru, and Madras became Chennai.
To su napravili u Indiji. Bombay je postao Mumbai, Madras je postao Chennai, Bangalore je postao Bengaluru i Kolkata je postao Kolkata.
They want to get rid of the British influence and supposedly get back to some original Indian whatever.
Žele se otarasiti britanskih utjecaja i vratiti se na indijski šta god.
Okay, we've heard about Lord Chaitanya coming to Puri. Now we get an account of his tracking back north, essentially heading home.
Dakle, čuli smo kako je Gospod Chaitanya došao u Puri i sad vidimo kako ide opet nazad na sever, u stvari on se vraća kući.
Because you could say, normal way to get to Vrindavan would be to go first, basically to go along the banks of the Ganges River and then the Yamuna River.
Jer neki normalni način da se odatle ode za Vrindavan bilo bi da se sledi reka Ganga i onda Yamuna.
It's not so direct because the Yamuna goes and then the Ganga goes like this, a sort of huge S curve. So it would be, you could say, shorter to cut across, but this is very difficult. It's just very wild country. To nije tako direktna putanja, jer Ganga čini jednu veliku S krivinu i jako je teško ići tako a i teško je preseći to. And remember, we have at this time no trains, no cars.
A znamo da u to vrijeme nije bilo ni vozova, ni automobila.
We're going by foot the whole way. Lord Chaitanya is going everywhere by foot.
Gospod Chaitanya svugdje ide peške, tad se putovao pešice.
And there's no internet, so he can't check his email to see, what's going on back in Puri or what's happening in Navadvip.
A i nema interneta i zato ne može provjeriti svoj email što se dešava u Puri ili Navadvipu.
Okay, I'm going to move forward a little bit. Time passing as it is.
Vreme prolazi, idemo malo napred.
There's quite a bit of discussion about Lord Chaitanya's relation with the king of Orissa, of Prataparudra.
Ima dosta opisa tu o odnosu gospoda Chaitanya sa kraljem Orisse, Prataparudrom.
It seems that Lord Chaitanya really was very much respected by the king.
Čini se da je kralj veoma poštovao gospoda Chaitanya.
Some say that even because of his devotion to Lord Chaitanya, he became neglectful of his kingly duties.
Neki kažu da je čak zbog svoje posvećenosti gospodu Čaitanji postao nemaran u vezi svojih krajskih dužnosti.
It says, Krishnadas says that he even arranged for places for Lord Chaitanya to stay on the way as he was going north.
Čak kažu da je kralj uredio neka mjesta na kojima gospod Čaitanja mogao da prestojava dok je išao prema severu.
They should arrange, his men should arrange boats for him to cross necessary rivers.
Onda ti ljudi su trebali da urede da gospod Čaitanja i njegovi protivci imaju čamce da bi prešli reke.
Let's say verse 117. When the king heard that the Lord was leaving that evening, he immediately made arrangements for some elephants with small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got on the elephants.
Kad je čuo da gospod odlazi te večeri, kralj odmah naredio da se tamo dovedu slonovi s malim šatorima na leđima. Tada su se sve gospođe iz palate popele na slonove.
In other words, he was giving him a royal send-off.
Drugim rečima, dao im je krajsku ispratnicu.
Which is interesting because we understand elsewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Lord Chaitanya was doing everything he could to avoid having anything to do with the king.
Što je interesantno, zato jer vidimo na više mjesta u Chaitanya Charitamriti da se gospod Chaitanya trudi da izbegne svaki kontakt s kraljem.
Okay. Eventually he gets to Bengal.
Na kraju stižu u Bengal.
There is mention of all the different persons who were with Lord Chaitanya at this time.
I tu se spominju sve te različite osobe koje su u to vreme bili s gospodom Čaitanjom.
Paramananda Puri, Goswami, Swarup Damodar, Jagadananda, Mukunda, Govinda, Kashishvar, Haridas Thakur, Vakreshwara Pandit, Gopinath Acharya, Damodar Pandit, Ramai, Nandai, and many other devotees accompanied the Lord.
Tu su Paramananda Puri, Goswami, Swarup Damodar, Jagadananda, Mukunda, Govinda, Kashishvara, Haridas Thakur, Vakreshwara Pandit, Gopinath Acharya, Damodar Pandit, Ramai, Nandai i mnogi drugi bhakti.
And it says these are only the main ones.
I on kaže Krishna, ja sam spomenuo samo glavne bhakti.
There were actually so many more.
Niko ne može navesti njihov ukupni broj.
And this is the problem.
To je problem.
This is the reason that Lord Chaitanya is not going to go to Vrindavan this time.
I to je razlog zašto ovog puta gospod Chaitanya ne ide u stvari za Vrindavan.
Eventually he's going to arrive at Ramakeli.
Na kraju će stići u Ramakeli.
Does anyone know exactly where Ramakeli is? I'm guessing that it's north of Nadia, just by the sequence of the description, but I'm not so sure.
Da li neko zna gdje je tačno Ramakeli? Imam utisak da je negdje odmah iznad Nadije, ali nisam baš siguran.
Maharaj, do you know?
Maharaj, ti znaš?
Ramakeli? Certainly Chaitanya Swami would know.
Mislim da bi Chaitanya Swami znao. Probably.
Something to research. Anyway, he goes to Ramakeli. After he returns to Nadia, he goes to Ramakeli, and in Ramakeli, which at that time was the capital city of the Bengal, the Nawab of Bengal.
U svakom slučaju onda ide u Ramakeli, koji je u to vreme bio glavni grad pokrajine Bengal, Nawab Bengal.
And there, of course, he meets Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami.
I svakako tamo susreće Rupu i Sanatana Goswami.
Who are the Dabir Khas and the Sakar Malik of the Nawab.
Koji su Dabir Khas i Sakar Malik tog Nawaba.
These are titles, these are not names.
To su titule, nisu imena.
They were secretaries of different types.
Bili su različite vrste sekretara.
And Sanatana Goswami, he becomes Sanatana Goswami eventually, or he's identified as that, in that way. He gives advice to Lord Chaitanya. As they're saying goodbye, he advises him, Mahaprabhu, please don't go to Vrindavan like this.
I onda Sanatana Goswami, koji će uskoro postati Sanatana Goswami kako ga znamo, daje jedan savjet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, molim te, nemoj ići ovako u Vrindavan.
Now, I sort of jumped ahead by mentioning that, but backing up, Gadadhar Pandit was also with Lord Chaitanya in Puri. He also wanted to accompany Lord Chaitanya to Vrindavan.
Malo sam preskočio napred, ali da se malo vratimo natrag. Gadadhar Pandit u Puriju je želeo pratiti gospoda Chaitanya u Vrindavan.
Lord Chaitanya said to him, no, you can't come. You have made a vow to remain in Puri throughout your life. You can't go breaking your vow.
Gospod Chaitanya mu je rekao, ne možeš prekršiti svoj zavet, dao si zavet da ćeš do kraja života ostati u Puriju, ne možeš prekršiti zavet.
You've taken the vow of Kshetra Sannyas, that means staying in one place rest of your life.
Uzeo si zavet Kshetra Sannyase, to znači ostaješ do kraja života na tom mjestu.
Gadadhar Pandit said, wherever you are is Jagannath Puri.
Gadadhar Pandit rekao, gdje god si ti, tamo je Jagannath Puri.
So I'm keeping my vow by staying with you.
Tako da održavam svoj zavet tako što bi ostao s tobom.
Lord Chaitanya was not very convinced.
Gospod Chaitanya nije bio baš ubeđen.
But he didn't want to be too harsh, so he didn't say, no, go back immediately.
Ali nije želeo biti previše grub, pa mu nije direktno rekao, vraćaj se odmah.
So Gadadhar sort of, he continued to follow him, but from a distance.
Tako da je Gadadhar nastavio pratiti, ali sa daljine.
Now, verse 136. Thus Gadadhar Pandit Goswami traveled alone, but when they all arrived at Kartak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him, and he went into the Lord's company.
Tako je Gadadhar Pandit Goswami putovao sam, ali kada su stigli u Kartaku, na poziv Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu se pridružio Gospodu.
Next verse. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw.
Niko ne može shvatiti ljubav i prisnost između Gadadhara Pandita i Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit se odrekao svog zaveta i služio na Gopinatha kao što se neko odriče slamke.
Gadadhar Pandit's behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu je u srcu bio veoma zadovoljan s ponašanjem Gadadhara Pandita. Uprkos tome, Gospod ga je uhvatio za ruku i ljuteći se iz ljubavi rekao mu sljedeće.
You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far.
Prestao si da služiš Gopinathu i prekršio zavet da živiš u Puriju. To si sada učinio jer si došao na ovo udaljeno mjesto.
Your wanting to go with me is simply a desire for sense gratification.
Želja da ideš sa mnom je samo da bi zadovoljio svoje čulo.
Vanchanija sukha is the Bengali. In this way you are breaking two religious principles, and because of this I am very unhappy.
Bengali je Vanchanija sukha. Tako kršiš dva religiozna principa i zbog toga sam veoma nesrećan.
If you want my happiness, please return to Nilachala. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter.
Ako želiš da budem srećan, molim te, vrati se u Nilachala. Ako još nešto kažeš o tome, samo ćeš me osuditi.
Edabali Mahaprabhu na ukate chadila murchita haya panditatai parila. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat and Gadadhar Pandit immediately fell down unconscious.
Rekavši to, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu se ukrcao na čamac, a Gadadhar Pandit se odmah onesvestio.
There's a painting of this in one of the books, maybe in this one.
Imate slika o tome u jednom od ovih knjiga, možda ovdje.
In any case, you can picture this scene. It's a very touching scene.
U svakom slučaju možemo zamisliti tu scenu, je veoma dirljiva scena.
That Lord Chaitanya is sending Gadadhar away, sending him back home.
Da Gospod Chaitanya šalje natrag Gadadharu.
Again, Lord Chaitanya is on his way to Vrindavan, and you might think it would be natural for him to have Gadadhar with him, considering who Gadadhar is.
U svakom slučaju, Gospod Chaitanya ide za Vrindavan i mogli bi pomisliti da bi bilo zaista prirodno da ima Gadadhara sa sobom, uzevši u obzir ko je u stvari Gadadhar.
And yet, he is insisting that he stay in Puri. So he's insisting in this way that Gadadhar sustain the feeling of viraha, of separation from Mahaprabhu.
A ipak on insistira da Gadadhar ostane u Puriju na taj način da gaji svoje osjećaje virahe, odnosno odvojenosti.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take Gadadhar Pandit with him. The Bhattacharya told Gadadhar Pandit, "Get up!" Such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu je naredio Sarvabhauma Bhattacharyi da povede Gadadharu Panditu sa sobom. Bhattacharya je rekao Gadadhari Panditi, ustani, takve su zabave Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Utto, get up.
Utto,
Next
ustani.
time your roommate is sleeping too long, you can say, Utto.
Sljedeći put kada vaš cimer drugu sobi kada previše spava, on možete mu reći Utto.
Or you can be very Sanskritic.
Ili možete biti sanskritski raspoloženi.
You can say Uttishta, or Uttishta.
Ili možete reći Utishta ili Utishto.
Can you remember that?
Možete to zapamtiti, ne?
No? Make a note. No? Okay. Maybe we should stop here and see if anyone has some further discussion.
Možda treba da se
We go on.
zaustavimo ovdje i vidimo da li neko želi da diskutira o ovome prema što nastavimo.
Questions? Yes.
How can we understand that our desire to visit the holy Dham is a desire for sense gratification, like that of Gadadhar Pandit, or it is a pure desire to advance in Krishna consciousness?
Kako možemo shvatiti da li je naša želja da idemo u Vrindavan, ona želja za čulnim uživanjem, ili je zaista želja da se pročistimo?
It's probably a mixture of both.
I verovatno je mešavina obe stvari.
Isn't it?
Zar ne?
There's probably some, selfish interest, but there's probably also some sincere desire to advance.
Verovatno je, tu ima neka sebična želja, ali isto ima i iskrena želja.
So,
Napreduje.
give yourself the credit of the doubt give yourself the benefit of the doubt.
Tako da imaj malo veru u sebe.
And when you get to Vrindavan, don't spend all your time in Loi Bazaar.
I kad odeš u Vrindavan, nemoj čitavo vreme provesti u Loi Bazar.
If you're going to Vrindavan and spending all your time in Loi Bazaar or at the MVT restaurant, then you know that you're going just for sense gratification.
Ako ideš u Vrindavan i onda čitavo vreme provedeš u Loi Bazar ili MVT restoran, onda znaš da ideš za čulno uživanje.
But the general principle we understand also from Lord Chaitanya is to get the blessings of the Vaishnavas.
Ali opšte razumevanje koje dobijamo od gospoda Chaitanya je da bi dobili blagoslove Vaishnava.
Lord Chaitanya actually considered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai to be his superiors.
Gospod Chaitanya je u stvari smatrao Sarvabhauma Bhattacharyu i Ramananda Raju svojim nadređenjima.
That's why he's asking their permission to go to Vrindavan.
Zato tražio ih dozvolu da ode u Vrindavan.
In the case of Gadadhar Pandit, he's saying this is only for your pleasure.
U slučaju Gadadhara Pandite, on kaže to je samo za tvoje zadovoljstvo.
Because he was concerned about a vow that he had made. And we know from other pastimes of Mahaprabhu that he was quite concerned about keeping vows.
Jer je bio zabrinut o zavetu koje je Gadadhar bio uzeo, a znamo iz njegovih drugih zabava da je on uvek veoma zabrinut za zavete.
So there is this tradition that's called Kshetra Sannyas, that someone makes a vow. It's a kind of austerity because tendency is to want to go here and there. So to make a vow, I will stay in this place the rest of my life, no matter what. And in the case of Gadadhar, to serve this particular deity, Gopina, that's an austerity.
Kshetra Sannyas je svojevrsna strogost, jer sklonost ljudi je uvek da šetaju na razne mjesta, tako da kad neko kaže ok, ostajem na jednom mjestu čitav život, i konkretno u slučaju Gadadhara Pandita, on je bio je da je rekao da će služiti to božanstvo Gopinati.
So in his case, Lord Chaitanya is seeing it as a kind of whimsical, we would say, a whimsical act to put aside that vow and just to leave with Lord Chaitanya.
Tako da u njegovom slučaju gospod Chaitanya to vidio kao neku vrstu hira, da bi ona samo napustio to mjesto i otišao s njim.
And it would cast a shadow on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's reputation.
To bi bacilo neprijatnu senku na ugled gospoda Chaitanya.
People might say, oh, just see this sannyasi, he goes away and takes people with him who have made vows to stay here. That's not very nice.
Ljudi bi rekli, a vidite ovaj sannyasi, on odlazi i uzimao svoje učenike sa sobom, koji su dali zavet da ostanu na tom mjestu. To nije baš lepo.
Sorry?
U redu?
So we'll continue tomorrow. I don't know what time.
Nastavit ćemo sutra, ne znamo koje vreme.
Maybe we're settled into a schedule now.
Možda ćemo se upasiti konačno u taj raspored.
So now everything is in suspense because Lord Chaitanya wants to go to Vrindavan, but he doesn't. For a second time, he wanted to go after taking sannyas. Now, after his travels, he wants to go again, and it doesn't work out.
Sad sve visi odjednom u vazduhu, jer gospod Chaitanya je uzeo sannyas, onda je išao ovdje, onda se želi ići u Vrindavan, ali nikako da to ispadne.
So make sure to come tomorrow to hear how Lord Chaitanya actually goes to Vrindavan. Haribol.
Dođite sigurno sutra da konačno čujete kako gospod Chaitanya konačno stiže u Vrindavan.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Krishna Kshetra Swami ki.
Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe 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 Govind Radhe Radhe Gaur